Revolve Renewable Power is a developer of solar, wind, hydro, and battery power projects in the US, Canada, and Mexico. CEO Myke Clark is here to discuss the company's announcement that it is to acquire the development rights to a 30 megawatt solar project in Alberta. I'm Martin Gagel with Market Radius Research. Please remember this is neither a recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Myke, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us, and please tell us about this new Alberta project you got going.
Yeah, I'm doing great, Martin. Thanks for having me again. Yeah, so we're excited to announce the acquisition or the proposed acquisition at this stage. It's a binding letter of intent to acquire a 30 megawatt project, a solar project in Alberta. So this project will be located south of Calgary, so in the southern area of Alberta. And it's a project that has quite a bit of the permitting work and development work already completed on it. So we're stepping into a project sort of mid to late stage in the project development cycle. So pretty exciting for us given the footprint that we already have in Alberta.
All right, why Alberta? From you're in Mexico, the US, and Canada, and then Canada's a big place as well. Alberta is a more of a deregulated market. Does that have something to do with it? Just why there?
Yeah, there's a few different reasons. One, we have an advanced stage project in Alberta already, Bright Meadows Solar. So we have a pretty good understanding of the marketplace and how it operates. For us, the deregulated market definitely plays into part of it. But the biggest part of it for us is really the sort of opportunity for projects of this size. So these mid-sized projects, so not the really big projects, not the tiny little projects, but these mid-sized projects, really, we think there's an opportunity in Alberta and a lot of places in Canada, honestly, that make a ton of sense for us. And there's opportunities for these types of acquisitions along with greenfield development for us in Alberta. We just really like the market. And we think there's an opportunity for these mid-sized level projects. That's why we acquired this one. That's why we're developing another one, and why we're going to continue to look for other opportunities in Alberta.
You already have operating, I believe, the 6 megawatts Box Springs project, and then the Bright Meadows is a little more than twice as big as that. And then this one you just announced is once again almost or about twice as big as is that one. Is that sort of indicative of you're getting bigger so you can handle bigger projects?
Yeah, it is definitely that. So the operating asset that we have, Box Springs, we acquired that, and so now we have an understanding of the market, a better understanding of the market, definitely. Uh, the Bright Meadows project, again, about 16 megawatts, so bigger. That would be into construction next year, is the target for that. It was just awarded its Alberta Utilities Commission permit for that project to operate, which is a really big milestone for us. And that occurred last week. And then now we are looking at, as you said, this 30 megawatt project. And so it is true that basically as we grow the size of the projects that we can take on. We build and operate smaller solar projects in Mexico, and we do develop really big projects as well, but ultimately we would sell those off. But what you see over the course of this evolution for us over the last couple of years is that we're getting into bigger and bigger projects, but still in that range of, 10 to 30 or 40 megawatts in terms of a really nice size of project for us, both because there's an opportunity in the market, but also from a capital perspective, we think we'll be able to build and own and operate them ourselves.
And to be clear, you're planning on operating this one. The bigger ones you sell off because you just don't have the balance sheet and so forth to do that. But this one fits in your parameters and your budget, and you plan on operating it and garnering the ongoing flow of cash flows when it's operating.
Yeah, absolutely. And so really the breakdown for us is around 50 megawatts, 50. Anything smaller, we look to own and operate. Anything bigger, we look to develop and then sell to a larger player in the marketplace. So for this one, it's going to fit in really nicely actually with that Bright Meadows project as well. So Bright Meadows, 16 megawatts, we anticipate getting into construction in 2026. And then this project would then slot in after that in 2027, and commercial operation in early 2028 will be the target right now. So it's quite a nice strategic fit for us in terms of construction scheduling and timelines. We don't necessarily want to take on, two, three, four projects simultaneously at our size, but adding one a year really works out well for us, definitely.
And then the Bright Meadows, that one would come like you begin construction next year, and then it would be 2027 where it would come on, like, be commissioned and start generating.
Yeah, it could be by the end of next year as well.
Oh, even.
So in
Okay.
terms of construction and commercial operation for Bike Meadows, same year, 2026. That's the current target.
All right. So with these
We're gonna run
projects,
into I was gonna say we're gonna run into winter at some point in Alberta, and so that sometimes dictates whether or not it's end of the year 2026 or early 2027.
yeah. And so you're building these out yourselves, and so you have to partially fund it, their debt and equity, and then tax credits. Could you just, I don't know if you can give specifics on these particular projects, but what is the general, what kind of rough debt to equity and tax credit ratios would you expect in these types of projects?
Yeah, generally speaking, for these types of projects, we would be looking for a power purchase agreement. So a bankable off-taker, so someone to buy the electricity. If we have that in place, something around a 70-30 split, 70% debt, 30% equity. And then the tax credit in Canada is up to 30%. So it ranges between 20 and 30%. And so that's essentially a tax credit or a fundable tax credit once the project is in operation. Getting from 20 to 30 depends a little bit on a labor component and prevailing wage components. And so really what we try to do is develop the project and build it so that it qualifies for that full 30%. So there's quite a bit of either debt and or tax equity in the project as well. So when people see that number, that 38 to $40 million capex, that's definitely not something that we would be required to come up with on our balance sheet. It's more in the range of anywhere some 15 to 20 or 25% at the very outside in terms of equity. And that includes things like construction loans as well as you get into the project to build it out. So the
So
capital
that's like
stack
five
looks.
to $8 million, doing my quick math here, something
Yeah,
like
very
that.
roughly. And again,
Yeah.
because it's quite a ways out right now, or all these projects, that particular project is quite a ways out. We don't like to say for sure exactly what it's going to be, but in that kind of a range, if you
Yeah.
think of that's what the equity requirement would be. And so that's something definitely for a year to 2 years down the road to sort of start considering.
All right. Is that everything on those projects? Did we hit all the key points?
I think so. I think the other thing is just around that Bright Meadows project. So the Bright Meadows project, of course, the one that we're already developing, that 16 megawatt. I think I alluded to it briefly, but really key development there was the approval from the Alberta Utilities Commission
Yeah.
on that project permit, and so that was pretty exciting. That occurred last week as well. That's essentially the permission to build, and that's what allows us to get into construction next year with some final interconnection and permitting work.
All right. I was preparing for this interview, I was just flipping through your most recent deck on your website, and I noticed something interesting where you're talking about a new digital infrastructure strategy. I guess partnering or working with data centers, hyperscalers, or cloud providers. Can you flesh that out a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you think of the types of opportunities we pursue right now with a renewable energy project, we do an assessment of the site and we look for transmission capability or capacity. We look for, someone to potentially offtake the power. We look at securing a site and the resource, obviously, as well. And if you look at the sort of criteria that the data centers look for, they look for a lot of those same things, but probably a couple more criteria. So, what we've been doing over the last little while is reassessing our overall portfolio to determine whether or not there are sites within that portfolio that actually meet an expanded criteria where we could work with a data center provider to come in and work with us, where we provide the power and we provide some of that early stage development on a data center or digital infrastructure site. So things, like access to fiber, so that they can actually connect to a fiber grid, something along those lines, where we go and do an assessment of the property. We determine, yes, we could actually build a wind project here or potentially solar, maybe some other form of battery storage as well, and then go through the early permitting and development process for a data center as well, so that we can kind of put together this package that is ready built for the data center operator. We wouldn't be the operator, like that's not our skill set, definitely not, but we would look to either potentially sell that to an operator or partner with an operator. It's one of those things that for the longest time, we have built out a competent team doing what we do right now. And just to do a little bit more work, we can actually provide a bit of value to these other types of customers, meaning data centers or digital infrastructures, co-location, those types of things. So it's kind of an exciting part of the business now. And we'll be talking about it more and more as we take a look through our portfolio and identify specific sites that we will then sort of start developing as digital infrastructure sites that include renewable energy as well, but just kind of include a little bit more. Call it renewable energy plus.
All right. So you add a little more value to the project, and then, instead of selling it to the grid or someone else, your power purchase agreement would be the right next door data digital.
Exactly, exactly, because
Yeah.
you look at a lot of these customers in the data center world, they're constrained by power. If they had more power, they could expand, they could build new facilities. And so there's a bit of a rush right now for those sites that have all the things that I described in terms of access and transmission and fiber. And if you have those, you have a really valuable project. Not that they're not valuable already, but you can kind of capture more value.
All right. Myke, thank you very much. Appreciate the update.
Thank you, Martin.